Welcome to Bible Prayers and Untold Stories, where every whisper verse is truth, and every story brings light to the soul. Let us journey through the sacred words and uncover the wisdom hidden in prayer. Vatican, May 8, 2025. As the bells of St. Peter's Basilica rang out across the Vatican night sky, tens of thousands of faithful held their breath in anticipation of the divine. White smoke rising from the Sistine Chapel, the sacred sign that the Church had a new pope. And then a moment made history. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, born in Chicago, was elected the 267th pope, taking the name Leo XIV, becoming the first American pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. Following a long-standing tradition, a cardinal stepped onto the main balcony of the basilica and solemnly proclaimed, "Habemus Papam." We have a pope. In that sacred moment, the crowd erupted in tears, songs, and prayers as Pope Leo XIV appeared on the balcony for the first time. His face moved, his eyes filled with tears. And in his first words, he did not speak of power or politics, but said softly, "Peace be with you all." This is the first greeting of the risen one, the good shepherd who gave his life for his sheep. I pray that this word of peace will touch the hearts and homes of each of you. Born in Chicago and having spent much of his priestly life in Peru, Pope Leo XIV is a living embodiment of the unity of two lands, the technological North America and the folk faith South America. Before ascending to the throne of Peter, he was Bishop of Chiclayo, 2015 to 2023, then Archbishop under Pope Francis. With his rare ability to speak foreign languages and his humility, he has quietly served those on the peripheries, just as Jesus always did. Instead of visiting any wealthy country, Pope Leo XIV's first trip was to a border refugee camp. There, he bent down to wash the feet of a Muslim girl, a powerful symbol of global healing and reconciliation. And in his speech to the United Nations, he spoke not of dogma, but of faith, hope and love without borders. Faith has no nationality. Love needs no translation. And God, he takes no sides. He stands with those who are suffering. U.S. President Donald Trump wrote on social media, "What an honor it is to have an American as Pope. I look forward to meeting Pope Leo XIV. It will be a very meaningful moment." Congratulations poured in from Western nations to Catholic communities around the world as a river of hope. It is believed that Leo XIV's reign will be one of healing, reaching out to the wounded, the forgotten, and ushering in a new dawn for global faith. At the end of that great day, when all the lights were out, in a simple room lit by candles, Leo XIV was seen writing his first diary entry, whispering, "The fire must burn, even if the wind outside is howling." Folded hands, dear believers, let us pray for Pope Leo XIV, the one chosen by God from the midst of the brokenness of the world, to restore light, life, and faith to humanity. May God bless him, and through him, bless our world. Tonight, we will turn the pages of forgotten pages, starting from a moment in history that seemed to have passed, the moment when one man was chosen from 1,000 souls. A name resounded amid the white smoke and the whisper of God. Leo XIV. When man was chosen by God, all heaven was silent. The night sky was covered with gray clouds. The wind howled through the stone columns of St. Peter's Square. The chapel bells tolled 12 times slowly. Before every sacred transition, there is a sleepless night. And on that night, heaven held its breath. The Vatican dome. The light from the stained glass windows was dim. In the darkness, the sacred figures blurred, a deceased pope stood watching. Souls in white robes, silent. Sacred space. Cardinals from all over the world, dressed in crimson, sat solemnly under a ceiling painted with the image of Christ. Not a word was wasted. The flickering candlelight made the faces surreal. This place, the Sistine Chapel, is more than a room. It is the intersection of earth and heaven. Every vote is a prayer, and every heartbeat is an offering to the divine. Each time a vote was cast, an ancient Latin chant was sung. The gestures were slow, the trembling hands of an elderly cardinal, the long, closed eyes of another, as if seeking inspiration. The day passed in tense silence. Some prayed, others wept, A young cardinal clutched his rosary, whispering softly in his native tongue. 4 votes. For times a collective soul of the Church calls upon the Supreme Being to choose. Him, one strong enough to lead, humble enough to serve, and trusting enough not to bow before the world. The distant chimes of the clock rang out. Thousands of people erupted in cheers. The camera panned in the crowd to the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. White smoke rising, as gently as a soul newly sanctified. And then he was called. His name was not in the ancient tradition, not of Roman descent, not from the familiar continent. But the prophecy was true, a puff of white smoke and an unprecedented beginning. The sound fades, giving way to a soft chant. Slow-motion footage of people hugging, crying. An old man whispers, "Habemus Papam." We have a pope. His name echoes across the square. Leo the 14th. And in that moment, no one hears the angels singing. But every heart knows something has been awakened. There are those who are born from the earth, but called from heaven. There are vocations that do not come from words, but from the silence that lasts throughout childhood. Little Robert in the empty church, his hand trembling as he touches the crucifix. His mother gently places her hand on his shoulder, then steps back, letting him continue praying. The boy whispering, "If you need someone, I will go." The air is cold but warm. That prayer, no one heard it, but heaven has recorded it. The desert, then the poor city on the outskirts of Lima. Robert, now a young man in a gray robe, is rebuilding a dilapidated house with children. They say, where there is a wound, there is a call. Peru is not just a destination, but a place where you were reborn. Robert is being blessed by the indigenous community in a traditional ceremony. He bows his head. The poor people's hands touch his forehead, as if giving back the spirit of the motherland. The old people speaking Spanish, subtitles. From now on, you are not just an American. You are ours. The night flight to the Vatican. The plane flies over the tops of the ancient chapels. A slow-motion shot. Robert enters the gates of the Holy City, being presented with the letter of appointment as prefect of the dicastery for bishops. They call him the one who redraws the spiritual map of the church. Each decision is a thread that connects priests around the world to the same beat. He quietly reviews the files, praying before choosing who will become the new bishop in the remote areas. A small candle burns next to the world map. Robert, praying, "Let me choose not by human eyes, but by your light." North America with its modern churches, then South America, a traditional festival mixed with indigenous rituals. Images intertwine, blend, between two lands. There is a man who is the heart of both. And at that intersection, a pope has been prepared silently over the years. Robert stands between two groups of people, one wearing South American native clothing, the other wearing Western suits, both bowing to him. He clasps his hands, eyes turned to sky. A faint light appears behind his head, an unclear halo, but it makes the audience feel something very sacred. A Latin chant rings out. The words appear. The Lord does not call those who are worthy. He makes the called worthy. The pages of an ancient book turn one by one. Images of past popes appear as shadows. Leo I, Leo XIII, then stop in the blank space. Leo XIV, to be continued. There are names that are not just chosen. They are entrusted. And that name, Leo, is not random. The image of Pope Leo XIII fighting for workers' rights, standing in the midst of social conflict. The image fades, replaced by Robert Prevost bowing before the cross, whispering, "Leo, I take up the unfinished mission." The atmosphere turns symbolic, a dream or vision of Leo XIV. He stands in the desert ruins, where the only light is a small oil lamp in the middle of the storm. In the distance, a lion approaches, gentle but majestic, its eyes reflecting the candlelight. Leo means lion. In the Bible, the lion is both power and justice, but also a figure of the one who is to come. He suddenly appeared in a closed room, before a wooden statue with a hand-carved Latin inscription, Vox Clamantis in deserto, voice of a man crying in the desert. Leo XIV, whispering, "People think I am chosen to rule, but I am called to awaken. Back to St. Peter's balcony, May 8th. Leo XIV stepped forward, the light from the setting sun gently illuminating his white robe. The crowd fell silent. At that moment, words were no longer sounds. They were declarations of the soul. He raised his hand, speaking slowly in Latin and then in English. "Peace be with all of you." The whole square fell silent. Then people began to cry. Others knelt. A little African-American girl held up a rosary to the sky. No one told you what to say, but the angel put it on your heart. In the ruins, abandoned churches, makeshift hospitals, small religious orders, people began to gather to pray. A young priest recited the words of Leo XIV, while people hugged each other, silently bowing their heads in prayer. Final image. Leo XIV stands in a dark room, lighting a candle in the middle of a world map. The candlelight spreads out, gradually illuminating other points on the map, like light spreading from a heart that has been called. His name is Leo, but his voice is a word of healing. Leo XIV alone opens an ancient wooden cabinet. Each file is sealed with a red seal, confidentialis, casus abusus. He pulls out each file. Each time he opens it, a sound echoes like a child's cry suppressed from nothingness. The throne of Peter is not just power. It is the place to receive all the wounds the world does not want to see. A handwritten letter from a victim. The camera does not need to read clearly. Only Leo XIV's eyes read, unblinking. Leo XIV mumbling, "I don't know if I can forgive, but if I don't stand up, who will stand up for me?" The Curia. Some cardinals whisper in the dark. The candlelight flickers. The conversation is unclear. Only broken sentences can be heard. Too soft, not understanding Vatican politics, will upset the balance. Leo XIV enters. Everyone is silent. He does not speak, just looks at each person, not accusing, but understanding. Then he walks past, as light as an invisible cross-bearer. Night, an empty room. Leo XIV kneels alone before the cracked wooden cross. No music, just the heavy breathing of a man struggling with the burden of destiny. Not all prayers are answered with light. There are nights God answers only with silence. Blood drips from his knee onto the stone floor. He has been kneeling for hours. A tear falls to the floor. The sound is loud as breaking stone. He looks up, whispers softly. Leo XIV, if you remain silent, let me continue to cry for you. The next morning, Leo XIV suddenly arrives at a small monastery, a place to care for abuse victims. No warning, no bodyguards. Just him in a simple white robe. He sits with a young boy. No words. Just two hands clasped together. The camera pans slowly, as if time has stopped. God does not need rulers. He needs people who sympathize with the wounds of humanity. The next night, Leo XIV stands on the highest balcony, overlooking the Vatican. The moonlight falls on his face. His shadow is long like a cross that a whisper comes from somewhere, like the devil's temptation. Don't get too deep. They will betray you. You cannot change what is rotten. He closes his eyes, answering fearlessly, I did not come to change the world. I came to stand among those the world has abandoned. There are thrones that do not shine with gold, but are built from the wood of crosses and human tears. Early morning. No delegation. No press corps. Just a small convoy of cars leaving the Vatican, heading for the far-off border, a refugee camp, where dust and harsh sunlight mingle with children's eyes. Leo XIV stepped out, took off his white robe himself, and bent down to wash the feet of a Muslim girl, her face slightly burned on one side by a firebomb. Not a place of wealth, nor a radio station. He chose a place where people had no hope, to sow a little light with his own hands. The people around him fell silent. Some shed tears. The media only learned the news after the fact. No official images. Just a nurse's account. I saw a man in white crying with us. St. Peter's Square, the ceremony to announce the new direction of the papacy. Millions watched on screens. Leo XIV stepped forward, stood before the microphone, but instead of Latin or English, he spoke in Spanish, the language of half his soul. Leo XIV, slowly, resonantly, paz para todos los hijos de este mundo herido. Peace to all the children of this wounded world. For the first time, the Vatican heard a strange voice, but not strange to those who have been forgotten. The faithful of Latin America, Africa, the Middle East, they did not understand every word, but understood the deep meaning. This was no longer the Pope of Europe alone. The United Nations Hall, cold, solemn. But when Leo XIV entered, no one stood up because of the ceremony, but because a strange lightness had just filled the air like a sacred breath. Leo XIV speaking. Faith does not belong to nations. Love does not divide by religion. And God takes no sides. He stands only with those who suffer. His voice dropped. The translation headsets fell from the ears of some leaders. Some bowed their heads. Some wiped their eyes. Night. Leo XIV returns to his room. No guards. No wine. No power. Just a small candle burning in front of his leather notebook. He sits down to write out a close-up of his handwriting. Shaking slightly, his voice echoes through the words. The fire must burn, even if the wind outside is howling. Because if you don't keep it burning, who will dare to light it? He blows gently on the candle. The scene doesn't go out immediately. The screen is still on. The remaining light illuminates the final words. And so, amidst the ashes, a fire has been lit. Not to burn, but to warm a world that has forgotten how to love.